go. We should be back. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see the stream, and if the stream sounds okay. We seem to be having a few issues on our side. Hopefully we can get back all the viewers we had on the previous stream, but I had to shut that one down. Nothing was working quite right, but we are back underway. Obviously we've missed about half of the qualifying session, just over half of the qualifying session. Obviously 18 minutes in this single Q1 session, just 7.5 minutes remaining. Convoy leading the field so far. A 128.4 is the time to beat. Then we've got Mr. Rem P2 and Divan P3. Spikes joins him on the second row, but not for much longer. Virus puts the Ferrari up into P2, puts himself up onto the front row, and that could be crucial going into turn 1 here at Suzuka. So I see a few people are joining, so thanks for the patience there. This Divan, currently P4, just got demoted by that lap from Virus. Bring up some info on the screens. Again, no need to look at the tyre screen. Everybody predictably on a set of softs. That's the fastest compound available, and that's the compound you're going to be interested in qualifying. Obviously qualifying all about as quick as you can possibly go around the circuit, and you're going to need the best grip available in order to do that. People sometimes forget the domination of Mercedes-Benz, when everybody would put on a set of softs to ensure their way through to Q3, while Mercedes-Benz would put on a set of mediums and make it quite easily. Can't do that anymore in F1. So the first reason is that rule's fallen away, and number two, the field is just so close together. Can't afford to be messing around with things like that. Don't have that advantage, you don't have that cushion anymore. Team's so evenly matched. This is Smurf in what appears to be the only pass here this evening. Of course, I don't know if I said it on this stream or if I said it on the stream that just broke. But obviously if you're a Toyota fan, Toyota looking at a potential re-entry into Formula 1, not as a full manufacturer team this time, but rather as an engine supplier, and they would be an engine supplier to the car on your screen. So that would be the Haas Toyota. Potentially that could be the cash injection that guarantees Haas long-term future. Andretti were hoping Haas would go sideways so they could purchase that team. That's exactly the news they don't want to get. This is Convoy, and he dives into the pits. He was going aggressively over the chicane. Thought he was finishing off the lap. Just diving into the pits. Mr. Rem, on the other hand, he does not dive in the pits. Goes around one more time, sets a lap. Don't think he found an improvement. Stayed P3, and his battery's definitely discharged. So that was a quick lap attempt. Just dive in, P4. The one and only Red Bull here this evening. Actually not, there's two Red Bulls here this evening. I was just looking towards the bottom of the list and not towards the top of the list. Two Red Bulls, one of them Spikes, one of them Mr. Rem. Currently P3, P5. Smurf in the Haas, Pantry Star in the Merc, P7. He's actually just gone down to P8. Time's changing all the time. Give you a visual of the circuit, take all the graphics away. We're right on board with the Red Bull driver, Spikes. Such a quick part of the racetrack. And this is a corner that used to be such a challenge to the F1 drivers. Do you commit? How much do you commit? But now F1 cars simply fly through there on full throttle. And if you're going through there on anything less than full throttle, well, you're throwing away a lap time. Spikes, B2, battery discharged, so he has come to the end of that run. Convoy still in the pits, quickest man in the field so far. Hasn't felt the need to come back out there and try and defend that. Seems like the stream has sorted itself out, hopefully it will stay that way. A lot of cars out on outlaps. Not the quickest man in the field though, he remains firmly in the pits. 28.1. Next best time is 820. 28.6. That's a minute between Virus and Spikes. For some reason, I know the names aren't similar, but for some reason it's not. I get confused between those two. Virus and Spikes. Of course, there's also Smurf and Skull. Lots of names to get confused on this season. This is Pantry Star. Goes over the line. Currently in P9, 29.8. Some of these drivers, you see them towards the rear of the field and you get excited for the race. Some of them are out of position. Some quick drivers starting from the rear of the field. You know they're going to be coming through the field. And on a track like Suzuka, that could mean some very interesting overtakes. Mr. M gets disqualified from the session. That may have been him getting out of the way, maybe being stationary for a little too long. Won't bother him too much. He wouldn't have had too much more to say in the qualifying session anyway. This is Virus. Currently P3, 28.7. It's going to be a Ferrari HP. Don't forget the HP. Such a lovely addition to the classic name. Scuderia Ferrari HP. Of course, HP were also big sponsors of the Williams BMW team. Sometimes big sponsors fall out of F1 and then re-emerge a couple of years later. Checkered flag has fallen. Speaking of some of those sponsors, there are two sponsors in F1 today, very, very big sponsors, on two very rival teams. And at one stage, both those sponsors appeared on one team. Obviously Petronas on the Mercedes-Benz, Red Bull, well, on the Red Bull. Both of them appeared as sponsors once upon a time on the Sauber. Red Bull Sauber Petronas, if you'll believe that. And it had a Ferrari engine. So there are your final and official results for qualifying convoy pole position. Joining him on the front row will be Spikes in the Red Bull. Then second row is Virus and Pantry Star. Third row, Divan and Smurf. They're followed by Skull, Boinkies, Andre and Stoffel making up the top 10. Then we've got Bosch Cartoon, Chums, Top Gun, Keekracker, Big Rhino, and Mr. M. He's going to have to start from the rear of the field as a result of that disqualification. Of course, in a situation where you DNF, you will be able to hold on to whichever lap time you've set. If you've set a lap time good enough for P5 and you DNF, well, you'll start in P5. But if you DSQ, well, then you have to start from the very rear of the field. Seeing the stream buffering a little bit. I hope everything is okay on your side. Of course, if you are watching and the stream is buffering, please do just rewind a minute or two on your stream. I'm not going to be able to react to your comments as quick, but you will be watching a good quality stream, and you're going to want a good quality stream because look what's in front of us now. That is a lot of rain. That is a lot of rain. And if you're going to have rain, I think probably the last place you want to have it is right here in Suzuka. Such a quick racetrack, so easy to get penalties. Get the dual green lights, that means we will have a formation lap. Sometimes these drivers do not like the formation lap, they don't enjoy it, they want to get on with it. I think on this occasion everyone will be making use of this formation lap just to try and acclimatize to the conditions around them. Obviously very, very wet out there, difficult conditions. Drivers will know a lot more than I do. I can just see what I see on the screen, same thing you're looking at. Drivers will know more detailed information about this weather. They'll know if it's going to be like this until the checkered flag, until the very end of the race. They'll know if it's going to lighten up and end in a dry race. They'll know a lot more than we do. But as things stand, these are definitely full wet conditions, no question about it. Nobody out there feeling suicidal and going on the inters. If the weather does continue like this, it suggests obviously just the one stop, but those strategy predictions you see on your screen, well, they are worked out in a way where that is if the weather were to remain the same. We don't know if the weather will remain the same. Of course, if anybody is in contact with one of the drivers, if it was qualifying, I'd ask one of the drivers to answer, but I know they're all in the cockpit and under extreme concentration. So if you're in contact with one of the drivers, let me know. What do you know about this weather? Are things going to end this way when we get to the checkered flag? Or are we expecting a very different race by the time we get to the checkered flag? Actually seems we've got a decent camera angle on F124. It only took a few weeks, but we can actually see the front of the field at the start of a race. Of course, now we just wait for the 5 red lights. Still have a car at the rear of the field. They're just getting in his pit box. I think that was Mr. M. And now we'll hear the red lights. 5 of them. When they go out, we go off. And we go off into the unknown. Turn 1 in Suzuka in the wet. There's so much spray, I can't tell you if everybody's going to get through turn 1 cleanly because I simply can't see back there. Seems like Conboy leads the way. He started in pole position and he's been able to hold on to that position through turn 1. Spikes holds on to P2 as well. Pantry Star now up into P3, Virus P4, Divan using P5 and is followed by Skull and the other Aston Martin Andre. 2 Aston Martin 6 and 7. Then Smurf P8, Boinky's P9 and Harsh Cartoon making up the top 10. Of course, SKR has had 3 weeks in a row with no safety cars. There's a record, but what will happen here tonight? Conditions at Suzuka testing the limits of that record. We do have a caution flashing on our screen, but it disappears as quickly as it appeared. Just have a car trailing at the back, somebody taking to the grass. Convoy leads at the front, 1.5 seconds at the front, already a very comfortable lap before the end of lap 1. Of course, no DRS in the wet. You are going to have your battery to play around with, but that's all you're going to get. You're not going to get any DRS in these conditions. Pantry Star doing all he can to hold on to the back of Spikes, but Spikes, just as Convoy's got up the road from Spikes, Spikes has got up the road from Pantry Star. So the top 3 already pretty evenly spread out in the very early stages of the race. P3 on the other hand, far from safe. Pantry Star got a little bit of a queue forming behind him. We're actually watching the battle between Divan and Virus going side by side in the wet here by Suzuka, and they go 1, 2 corners, 3 corners side by side, and the Ferrari is able to hold on to that for now. It wasn't 1, wasn't 2, but it was 3 corners in a row where those cars just went side by side, everyone allowing each other a fair amount of space, a fair amount of respect. We know that could have ended very badly if either of those drivers had a slightly different attitude. But of course, that's the kind of driving we've seen, and that's why we haven't had safety cars in 3 weeks. Just lots of respect on track, fantastic driving etiquette. It's by no means that these guys are driving around slowly. All of these drivers very quick, on the edge, but this is a different challenge. The rain is a different challenge. You need to find that balance, the balance between being quick and being safe. You go over that limit, rain isn't going to give you many more opportunities. Convoy, quickest lap. It's pretty predictable because he's at the front and he is pulling away at a rate of knots, 5.7 seconds in the early stages. I know I just said we haven't seen a safety car in 3 weeks, but the guys at the rear of the field, they'll already be hoping for a safety car. Some of these gaps already very evenly spread out. I said already there's no DRS in the wet, but I still might say within DRS from time to time. If I say within DRS, I mean within a second. I am aware that they don't have DRS in these conditions. I've just become so accustomed to anything lower than a second saying within DRS. Like here, Andre right on the back of Divan. If these were dry conditions, we'd have a very different result. You'd be able to open up DRS and post past the kick salver, but in the wet you're not able to do that. You just got to stay as close as you can to the rear diffuser of that car ahead of you. Wait for a mistake, wait for a traction challenge coming out of a slow corner and hope for the best. And there we go, wait for the mistake, and that was a mistake. Divan goes right, not wide enough for Andre to make up a position. Came back on the track and just closed the door on Andre. But Andre's going to have the much better run up the straight. Again, if it was dry conditions, he would have made that look easy. But in the wet, it's a big challenge. Divan is not going to give up the position, is he? but he has to give up the position at the end. Force just doesn't have the space. That is probably the most narrow part of the Suzuka circuit. And Divan just running out of space, losing one position and now losing another. Andre up into P5 and Smurf getting past Divan as well, now up into P6. In P4 we still have Virus, still within a second of Pantry Star. Pantry Star has slightly lost touch with Spikes, the gap 1.2 seconds. And then Spikes has completely lost touch with the leader, 7.7 seconds for the lead. Briefly go through some of the cars here at the rear of the field. Keycracker currently P16, making up the field in the RB. Then we have the second of the two Williams, Stoffel P15. His teammate just up the road from him, Chums in P14 and the other Williams. Then we've got the second Sauber. We were just talking a lot about the other Sauber, but this is the other one, the one we haven't spoken about. Rhino, currently P13. Harsh Cartoon in the second of the two Ferraris, P12. And Mr. M, well, the second Red Bull, didn't have the start he would have wanted to this evening, got a disqualification in qualifying when he already did have a lap time. I think he was just trying to stay out of the way at the end. Cost himself a qualification time. Convoy just keeps on putting in the purple laps. Each time we look, he goes a little bit quicker. But we were talking about Mr. M. He started at the rear of the field. He's up to P11, so he's made up some positions in these conditions. So he can be grateful for that. Skull just inside the points, currently in P10. And you can see Tough Gun just ahead of him in P9, can double his points tally with that one overtake. Obviously just the 1 point for 10, 2 points for 9, so that's an overtake worth doubling your points. A little further up the road, Boinkies in the McLaren. I believe it's the only McLaren here tonight. Then Divan, really seen him go a little backwards. He lost the first position to Andre, then lost another position to Smurf, and now he's just trying to find traction in that car. Is Smurf. Car went left, car went right, a little bit of everything, but somehow he's found just enough to stay in front of Divan for now. As for Andre, he's been able to shake those cars off. He's in a bit of a race of his own now. Virus 1.5 seconds up the road, Smurf 2 seconds down the road, so he's in a bit of clean air, if you can call this clean air. There's a lot of water in the air. Just going to ride on board with your leader, so it's another purple. Just want to try and get a gauge of these conditions. And it certainly still seems very, very wet. Of course, we don't know. Will the weather remain like this until the end of the race? Will it lighten up? Will we see intermediates? Maybe we'll see softs at the end. Maybe I'm just making all of this up and we're going to be on wets for the entire race. Of course, if that is the case, remember, in the dry, you have to make a pit stop, not because F1 has a rule about a mandatory pit stop. That's not the rule. The rule is you have to use 2 compounds. So therefore, if the conditions remain exactly the same, that rule falls away. I don't think anybody's going to be insane enough to try and take a set of wets right to the end of the race, but if they were to try, it's completely legal. Pantry Star, looking back, see the thick tread on those rear tires, just clearing so much water. Doesn't matter how much water they clear, the problem is the spray. Right here you can't see the spray, that of course Convoy is very far up the road. You can just see a hint of it from Pantry Star. The problem is when you get really close, and especially in those opening laps when there's so many cars on the same part of the race circuit, sometimes you can't even see the action through the straight. You let me know at home, does it look like it's lightening up? Does it look like the conditions are exactly the same? To me, I don't think intermediates is on the cards just yet. Of course, it's only lap 7 of 27. Started with 16 runners. Crucially, we still have 16 runners. We've only seen 1 or 2 yellow flags. Nothing serious in this race so far. And unfortunately, if you're at the rear of the field, no safety car for you just yet. Man would love a safety car. Spikes in P2. 12-second gap between him and the leader. The leader who would very much not want a safety car. Done everything he's had to do in this first stint of the race. Keep the lead into turn 1, build the gap. He's done more than build the gap, he's built a massive gap. 13.5 seconds. If he's able to find another 7 seconds in the next couple of laps, well, he'll have an entire pit window to himself. Of course, that means he could come into the pits and re-emerge still in the lead, while everyone else is waiting for their own pit window. I think somebody really likes driving in the rain. Chums, 14, Stoffel, 15, that's the 2 teammates. Then Keycracker is at the rear of the field, but doesn't have to be there for much longer because he's got his opponents right in front of him. We've actually got a close battle for P14, 15 and 16. That's where all the action is. Things out front, a little boring. Highest stakes battle we've got on the circuit right now is this one here. Andre versus Virus. It's for P4. Of course, remember Mr. M, he got the disqualification in qualifying, started right at the rear of the field in P16. He's been able to make his way up to P11. He made his way up to P11 in the very early stages of this race, and then he's just sort of remained there, hasn't been able to make up any more positions. Got a 1.7 gap between him and Skull. If he's able to get past Skull, well, then he'll finally find himself into the points. He'll be cursing that disqualification. Look at the momentum he's gained from P16. He'd be thinking in the back of his mind right now, what if I had started in P7 or 8? Where would I be now? So unfortunately for him, when he does break into the top 10, there are a lot of gaps. Not about just making one overtake, making another overtake. It's going to be a lot of driving in between. That Convoy just slides that Alpine, slides it into the corner, slides it out of the corner. They slide absolutely everywhere, and obviously he knows exactly how to control it. Because he's got a little something extra over the opposition here tonight. 15 seconds now, that gap. Fantastic gap. We might be missing a few normal viewers. Drivers that usually listen to the race. Of course, we had to cut that first stream short. It was well worth it because this one seems to be working. We go down the field looking for a battle. This is the first one we find. We mentioned it previously, Virus versus Andre. Those cars actually closer together now than they were. 0.5 of a second between the two. Aston Martin's going to want to get as close to this Ferrari as they can. Just apply all of the pressure, hope they run wide through Spoon. If they do, you want to be as close as you can for a traction race. But that's not going to be the case this time around. The gap's slightly too big, just 0.8 of a second. He's going to be able to stay within the DRS, maybe use a little bit of battery, get as close as he can just before that hard braking point for the chicane. Where you can make up a lot of time. That's also where you can make a big mistake. As you can see, he gained a lot of time on the Ferrari, on the braking, and then there on acceleration he's been able to hold on to the Ferrari. Had this been a DRS situation, this would be perfect, but he's going to use slipstream, he's going to use battery, going to use the tools he has available. It looked like he was going to take the lead into turn 1, he had the inside line. But the Ferrari holds on. Convoy out front, 17.3 seconds. Remember, when that gap reaches approximately 20 seconds, well, then he's got a pit stop in his pocket. Down the road from him and second best on the track so far, started in P2 and he's maintained that P2 throughout the race. Spikes, then Pantry Star, he's been in P3 for a majority of the race, got that position early on. Virus lost that position early on, but he's remained in P4 throughout. And then Andre, he has been making up a bit of ground and he's looking up to make more ground. He's challenging Virus for that P4 that he's made his own. If he has any hope of a podium here this evening, he wants to clear this Ferrari. Crucial thing for all the drivers, and I think it's because of the wet conditions. No penalties. Of course, in the wet conditions, the guys don't test the extremes of the circuit, test the white lines. Maybe get a bit of grass on the tyre. Nobody's going to take that sort of risk in these conditions. If the weather does improve, we might start to see some penalties towards the end of the race as we go back on board with the leader. I don't think these conditions are lightening up, are they? Convoy just going purple again, sector after sector, so he's not even slowing down. In fact, he's getting quicker. Of course, as long as these tyres have life in them and as long as these tyres feel good, take these tyres as long as you want. You don't have to worry about using a second compound, because under the rain conditions there are no second compounds. If you could somehow take these tyres right to the end of the race, well, then you wouldn't even need to make a pit stop. There was a race, I think in the early 2000s, where Mikasalo completed the entire Monaco Grand Prix on one set of tyres at a time when refueling still existed. Finished on a tank with no refueling and no tyre change, something you could only probably get right at Monaco under some very certain conditions. It will be difficult to replicate. Welcome to Visor in the comment section with his usual greeting. Good to have you here. We do have a virtual safety car, and hopefully that's all it is. I'm going to say hopefully because we've seen in the past, in fact we saw as early as Thursday night, that we got a notification for a safety car when it was indeed a full safety car. So hopefully that is all it is. We are looking towards the circuit to see if we see any yellow cars that are not supposed to be there. But hopefully that's all it is, and it's just a virtual safety car, especially for the likes of Convoy. do have a DNF. I didn't see that at the beginning, but we do have a DNF. It's a DNF for one of the two Mercedes. Pantry Star still up in P3, so that's Top Gun. He is retired from the session. Comes the first retirement. And I think what happened on Thursday has happened again. I might be mistaken, but we should get confirmation shortly. Convoy goes around the corner. Will he meet someone there waiting for him? No, he doesn't. There we go. Comes straight into the pits. Thought I saw a stationary yellow car on the track. It is a virtual safety car. It's an awfully long one. Mr. M, first man to throw the dice. He's come into the pits and put on a set of intermediate tyres. That's going to be something different. Keep your eyes on that car. If he suddenly starts lighting up the track map in purple, then those inters are in the right window. If he simply falls back, well, then the dice didn't fall the way he would have wanted. A lot of cars in the pits, and I still haven't seen confirmation of a full safety car, but there it is. There's confirmation, just so the viewers don't think I'm losing my mind. I told you, it says virtual safety car. That is clearly not a virtual safety car. The record had to go sometime. Not bad, SKR, 3 weeks in a row, but on the 4th week we did finally get a full safety car. Even if it says virtual, that's what it is, it's a full safety car. But under these conditions, really can't blame the field for causing a safety car or two. Everyone pushing as hard as they can, trying to make up positions on a track that is not favourable, to a track they probably haven't done that many laps in the wet. Of course, I don't know this for a fact, but I'd say at least the grand majority of practice is done in the dry. Not a lot of guys spend time in the wet, refining their wet settings, refining their limits. How quick can they go? Some of them do, and it really shows in the race. I'm sure Convoy has spent a bit of time in the rain. Of course, on previous games, you would actually have the option in time trial to drive in the wet. You could practice time trial runs in the wet. That option is no longer available, and that was probably where I did most of my wet practice. So as far as I go, I almost never practice in the wet. I wonder how much time these guys have spent practicing in the wet. Of course, a lot of these guys, they're in other leagues, multiple leagues during the course of the week. So they will spend a lot of race time in the wet. What I'm speaking of is not experience in the wet. I'm talking about preparation. The amount of preparation these guys put into a particular racetrack. When the rain comes down, surely that level of preparation, it's not going to be the same for most of the field. But Convoy looks to have got his best practice in, so I'm not talking about the entire field when I say that. Just if there's a more casual player here, probably hasn't put in any preparation for this sort of a actual safety car has brought this field back together, rather full safety car, has brought this field back together. So what was looking like a sure thing for the Alpine is no longer a sure thing. Of course, if his pace just translates to the second stint of the race as it was in the first stint of the race, then he'll just be able to pull away and do it all over again. But of course, the final part of that statement is going to have to do it all over again. Maybe thinking, well, if he's done it once, he can do it again. Well, mistakes. Mistakes happen. Is the weather changing? Is it getting lighter? Did Mr. M make the right choice? Soon find out. Keep our eyes on this Red Bull. Because if the results of those intermediates are overwhelmingly positive, we'll see the rest of the field dive into the pits before the end of the race. But judging from what I see, I don't know if I'd be too comfortable on those tyres. So just the one driver out on track on the intermediate tyre, keep your eyes on him. That car is going forward or going backwards. Of course, with the field so close together, if that intermediate does turn out to be an absolute disaster class, well then Mr. M could find himself right where he started this race, at the rear of the field. No Panda in the field. So a man who always seems to be in the cool down room after the race, either in the top 3 or driver of the day. Gonna have him in the comms box today. Of course, reminder to all the drivers, if you are listening in the background, top 3 drivers as well as driver of the day, you're invited to the cool down room in the NFR Discord server. And I will bring you into the comms box. We can have a little chat about the events that transpired throughout the race. This is Andre. It's in P5. And it was already challenging for P4. He was already challenging Virus, but this is just brought new life to his race. He'll now be able to see the leader. You'll be able to see the leader. It's there, he's far up the road, but he can see him. That car was over 20 seconds up the road before this safety car came out. So, race is rejuvenated. Anyone in that midfield can come back and win this race. It's going to be all about the restart. If Convoy can get into turn 1 in P1, come out of it in P1 and just do what he did in the first stint of the race, then surely there should be no question. Man in qualifying with the pace, the man in the first half of the race with the pace, comes out of the center S's in the lead of the race. 1.5 seconds already the gap, with not even a third of the lap completed. And Convoy looks like he's looking to do more of the same. Spikes in P2, going to be trying to do a much better job this time around of holding on to that Alpine, minimizing the damage. Pantry Star in P3, already losing touch there with Spike slightly, just over a second. Then we have Andre, and he was able to make up a position at the start of the race. Remember, he was challenging Virus for quite some time. He's been able to get past Virus at that restart. Andre up into the top 4. Then we've got Boinkies in P6, first of the runners, actually only of the runners, with a penalty. In P7 is Smurf. I believe that's a 3-second penalty for track limits. Said the guys were in test track limits in these conditions, and I've been proven wrong. Divan P8 looked a lot stronger at the start of the race. He's simply just gone backwards. Mr. M P9 so has made up a few more positions. We said keep your eyes on this car because it's the only one on the intermediate compound, so he's either rolled this dice perfectly or he's got it completely wrong. We have not seen the car fall backwards through the field, so I believe that is a positive sign. Now let's see what that car looks like under braking. How close can he get? What sort of traction does he have on the exit? That would be a fantastic battle to watch in front of you, except for all the spray. We didn't exactly see what happened, and look at that. We saw that happen. Mr. M car just stepping out just for a second. Sometimes that can result in a spin, and you and your car meeting a barrier, triggering a safety car. But on that occasion, Mr. M, the Red Bull, just snaps back into position and he gets back on with it. Boinkies, Smurf in P7. So many of these cars trading positions, but I just can't see it even though it's happening right in front of us. Just so much spray. And a Ferrari. Wonder what happened there. Virus is getting things awfully wrong. Almost looked like he got a puncture. I just came out so slowly on the exit of that corner. Virus has lost some momentum. He's gone down to P7. He was holding on to P4 for such a long time during the course of this race. Andre got past him at the restart and his race has gone from bad to worse. Now Virus finds himself in P7. Again, I am seeing a little bit of buffering on my screen, so if you guys are having trouble with the stream, please do rewind just a minute or two so that you can get the very best quality stream. The action is simply too good to be waiting for buffering. If you're having problems, please do rewind a minute or two. Hopefully everybody back home isn't having any problems. Convoy said he just needed to do it all over again, but maybe it was easier said than done. Well, so far it's proving us wrong. He's doing it all over again. 5.8 seconds the gap at the front. Spikes in P2. It's not as comfortable P2 as it was at the start of the race. This time he hasn't been able to shake off Pantry Star. Pantry Star has been able to hold on to that Red Bull and stay pretty close. We've got a caution flashing on our screens, and just as I say it, it disappears. So that's good news. Pantry Star still on the back of the Red Bull. Where is Andre in P4? Is it way down the road? And we've got a safety car, and this time it says safety car. So we didn't have one in 3 weeks, and now we've had two in one race. The first stint of the race got off really cleanly. I was so impressed that under these conditions guys were still holding everything together. Then we got that safety car. Looked like we were going to have exactly more of the same, exactly the same result. Convoy pulling off into the distance. Safety car comes back out, corrects the situation again, forces the cars close together yet again, and by the time the safety car comes in, we'll probably have a 5 or 6 lap sprint to the end of the race. Of course, if you're able to keep your car in the mix for those 5 or 6 laps, a very good result is on the cards, even if it was unexpected just a few minutes ago. course, this time around we might have a shorter safety car because the field is a lot closer together than they were last time round. And as I say that, I see there's a few cars at the back, but they should catch the rest of the field well before the end of this lap. Maybe just one more lap under the safety car. That'll give us 7 laps till the end. And of course, if this was real F1 and we had these conditions in the late stages of Suzuka, well then we'd probably finish under a safety car. Of course, the only time you can confirm there'll be no safety cars is when there's 3 laps to go. So that will be lap 24 of 27. That'll be the cut-off point. 3 laps to go. We can't have any more safety cars. So there will still be a few laps between here and there where we could possibly trigger a third. T-Cracker comes into the pits to try and utilize that safety car, and he's got himself a 10-second penalty. Hopefully he's able to serve that 10-second penalty in this very stop. Not so long ago we were talking about the only medium runner on the track, and now you'll notice I'm not talking about that medium runner because he's out of the race. Mr. M, he was the trigger that caused this second safety car. Obviously went into the pits, put on a set of inters, tried something different, looked like he was flying at a stage, did make up positions, did get himself up into the points, but obviously driving those inters quickly in these conditions, it was a little too risky. Andre did so much of this race in P5, challenging Virus for the P4. Then we had the first safety car. He was able to make up that position at the restart, got himself into P4, and he's held on to that position since then. Can he go one better? Can he steal another position at the second restart, put himself up onto the podium with just a few laps to go? No DRS. If you can have a half decent defensive drive, you'll be able to hold on to that position. Safety car drives off into the distance. Andre almost pulling alongside Pantry Star. Real Max Verstappen move that is. Convoy backs up the field, and when he goes, that's the green light for the rest of the field to go as well. Convoy, does he get the jump on the field? Yes, he does, as he has done twice before. Convoy will lead the way easily into turn 1. Spikes P2, Pantry P3. Andre hasn't been able to make up any position, stays in P4. Boinky's P5, Smurf P6, but crucially with a penalty next to his name. Anyone with a penalty next to their name, it's really going to hurt them at the end of the race. Late safety car doesn't allow for the field to spread back out, and instead of losing a position or 2, you could lose a very big handful. We're complaining about no battles on track. Now there's too many battles on track for us to keep track of. Convoy out front. Getting tired of saying that, really. Spikes P2, then Pantry Star P3. Virus looked like a certain 4th place. The race just hasn't gone according to plan, and you just see the Ferrari stepping out there again. Extremely tough conditions. One car has gone into the pits and put on a set of intermediates, so we still have that one running example on the track for what a set of intermediates looks like right now. Captain Speed car at the rear of the field, but he's not at the rear of the field as a result of those inters not working. He's there because he was the last man to pit on the safety car. So we'll find out, do these inters work? Does he have superior grip into turn 1? There's not much he's going to be able to do from P14. Goes to the inside, and look at that, the Sauber just running really wide. Don't know if that was pressure, trying to hold on to that position, trying to brake as late as they could, and then simply forgot. They actually have to get the car stopped. So Key Cracker does make up a position, goes up into P13. Just want to get clarification on that penalty. He did not serve it in the pit stop. So Key Cracker, 10-second penalty next to his name rather. That'll be added on to his race time. And unless he can make a very sizable gap to Rhino, well, he's simply going to lose that position again when they go over the start-finish line. The front, he did it once, Conboy. Then after the first safety car, he did it again, built the gap up to 6 seconds. Second safety car came out again, cancelled out that gap. He's now built the gap back up to 4 seconds. The time of the first safety car gap was 22 seconds. Time of the second safety car was 6 seconds. It's not the best maths to do. I think if we had no safety cars, Convoy could be leading by just over half a minute. Death Green in the comment section showing support, as always. Showing support tonight for Andre, currently in P4. As well as his teammate just down the road, Skull, in P8. Both of those drivers, no penalties next to their name. Smurf in that midfield, he does have a penalty next to his name, so does Divan. And then obviously further back, Key Cracker with the biggest penalty on track, 10 seconds. He's actually made up another position, got past Stoffel. So I wonder if those inters are just coming into their window, they're starting to work. But unfortunately for him, it's too late in the race. And he has 10 seconds worth of penalties next to his name. So even if he has an amazing final stint to the race, gets himself up into the points, it's a very good chance he's going to lose all the positions he just made up. Spikes in P2 because he hasn't been able to shake off this crowd. Remember in the first stint of the race he was having a lonely P2, but on this occasion he hasn't been able to shake him off, and he's leading a bit of a queue. Pantry Star, Andre, Boinkies, all of those cars right there just behind him, waiting for him to make a mistake, waiting to take his position, dethrone him from his podium position. He'll be feeling the pressure. Every time he looks in his mirrors, probably won't even be looking in his mirrors at this stage. He'll know they're there. All he needs to worry about is keeping the car in the middle of the racetrack and defending as hard as he can, and the benefit he has is that DRS is not available. Still with Pantry Star, now with Andre, and it's a traction race between Andre and the McLaren. Andre closes the door for now. He saw him coming. Is he going to be able to maintain this, or is the McLaren going to just simply come back at him? While these two battle, they're going to lose a little bit of contact with Spikes and Pantry Star. Got to ask yourself if you're fighting for that P4, or if you want to go for the win. If you want to go for the win, early engagement is not what you want to do right now. The more you battle with this car just ahead of you, the more your opponent disappears down the road. Good evening to Marlies. As far as I know, no, but of course all are welcome, and that is obviously something we can speak with the admin about. I think we actually used to have a race like that, and we should bring that up to the admin. Maybe get some of the ladies involved, or maybe get you guys a race of your own. Let's see what the admin across the various leagues on this channel can come up with. Definitely take that idea to the various leagues. Of course, DRS on a Thursday, SKR on a Sunday, and then SAFRL take up Monday and Wednesday night. Convoy out front, Spikes, P2, still defending hard. Pantry Star, the Mercedes. Got confused there for a second, I almost called him the Pantry Star. But Pantry Star in the Mercedes is currently in P3 and still battling for P2. He's not going to be able to rely on any penalties. He's going to have to make the overtake right here on circuit. He's not going to be able to rely on DRS. It's going to be battery management and being at the right place at the right time. Of course, the race is almost over, so one last reminder to the drivers. Top 3 as well as driver of the day are invited to the comms box, rather to the cool down room, and then I will bring you into the comms box. But for now, we're still trying to decide who those 3 drivers will be, because the battle is far from over. Spikes, Pantry Star, Andre all in for a battle. Boinky's at the back of that queue. We keep on forgetting about him, but that's because he's in the spray and I can't see him. But Spikes, Pantry Star, Andre, Boinky's, all of them fighting for P2, fighting for the final 2 steps of the podium. There's 4 cars here, there's only 2 steps. Somebody's going to leave disappointed. Spikes has been able to break away from Pantry Star, so the gap now 1.3 seconds, and Pantry Star becomes the man under pressure. He's got Andre and Boinky's just behind him. I wonder if he was defending from those 2 cars behind him just a little too hard. Wasn't paying enough attention to what Spikes was doing, and then when he looked up again, Spikes had disappeared down the road. That's what does happen in long DRS trains. You start battling with somebody else, the next thing you look up, you've defended your position, but you've completely broken the train. And now you're the car at the front of the train, with all the pressure on their shoulders. Key Cracker thought he might be able to steal a point at the end, but I think he's just going to run out of time, run out of tarmac, and that penalty is going to cancel it out anyway. He does have an 11-second gap to the car behind, so he'll finish P11, he'll keep P11, so long as things remain as they are. But that's just one position outside of the top 10. That's good to hear. I'm glad you enjoy watching. So we do this 4 times a week. A lot of the same drivers you see here tonight, you'll see in other places. We've got a very late retirement. My voice gets immediately excited. I start going up in tone. I think safety car, but I look to the top of the screens. I see it's lap 27 of 27. There can be no more safety cars. And Convoy, where is Convoy? He's coming to the end of the race. There we go. Goes over the line. He'll see the checkered flag. He'll be relieved. It's been a race about building gaps, having those gaps cancelled out, and then having to do the work all over again. He's done it comfortably in the end. 10 seconds. Spikes P2 and Pantry Star holds on to P3. Boinkies, he actually got Andre at the end there. Andre looking for a podium step. Instead got himself 5th place. And now we'll just wait for the rest of the cars to come over the line. And I will read you the official results when they become available so that these penalties can work themselves out. And Andre is your driver of the day. So Andre, the 4th driver invited to the cool down room. If you're wondering why there's no sound, the stream isn't broken, the game isn't broken. But anything that doesn't get muted, F1 will claim in a copyright strike. So we've had to mute your podium celebrations. And there are your official results. Convoy, no surprise, started from pole, took the victory and the best lap, 26 points on the night. Spikes did a good job, started P2, finished P2. Then Pantry Star found a position throughout the race, went up into P3. Boinky stole a position right at the end, P4. Then we got Andre P5, Virus P6, Skull P7, Smurf P8, Harsh Cartoon, and Keycracker. He did get a point at the end. No points on the night for Chums, Stoffel, Rhino, and Divan. In fact, Divan did DNF on that final lap. We also had DNFs from Mr. M and Top Gun. The top 3 invited to the cool down room: Convoy, Spikes, Pantry Star, and then as well as your driver of the day, Andre. Just having 1 or 2 issues here with tech in the comms box, so if you do want to hear the drivers, please just be patient with me. Trying to get all of this online. When the stream wasn't doing so well at the beginning of the stream, I closed everything else on my laptop, so just waiting for a few things to open up. Of course, what a race we had. If you watched from start to finish, you would have seen some very, very wet conditions. So difficult to drive in those sort of conditions. You still have to be on your absolute best. You still have to be on the absolute edge. But at the same time, you need to know exactly where that edge is so that you're not able to go over it. I'm just going to give it another minute or 2. Hopefully we can get all of these things online. Please stay with us if you want to hear from the drivers, and we'll be back shortly. just trying to get this thing going. It doesn't quite seem like it wants to open up. But of course, I might just take this time to remind everybody, if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, we have 4 races a week on this channel. Also have a little bit of non-league related content, but for the most part, the 4 live races every week. And you'll see a lot of the drivers you saw here today in the other leagues. And there we go, finally, the comms box, the lights come on. We might actually get something done. I do have Andre, I do have Spikes, so I'm going to attempt to bring these two into the comms box. Guys, if you can hear me, just mute your TV or your phone or wherever you're listening to the stream.
That's Andre.
Yeah, I just wanted to check if the stream is still going, because we've been in the cooldown room for a while.
Sorry about that. We've just had we had some tech issues in the beginning. The computer wasn't handling things very well, and then in a panic, I just basically closed all the other programs on my computer, and then Discord doesn't want to get going when I needed it.
Shucks.
But yeah, we've got Andre, driver of the day. We've got Spikes. Guys, what was that? That was Japan in the wet.
Yeah,
Was
no,
that
was awesome. It was awesome, actually.
race. Awesome race, but quite difficult.
We just had Convoy. Sorry, Convoy just in the comments section saying he can't join the comms box. Just you're not joining the comms box, you're joining the cooldown room, and then I'll bring you into the comms box. The reason the comms box is locked is occasionally we may get a visitor at an inappropriate time. So Convoy, if you're listening, if you can hear me, just join in the cooldown room, and I'll bring you in with these guys. There we go. We've actually got Convoy. So Andre and Spikes, as you were, tell me about the race. Tell me about the conditions. Was it? Did you guys know it was going to be wet from start to finish, or was the weather sort of? Do we go on inters? Don't we go on inters?
You can go.
No, in quali it showed that there's 92% rain for the whole race. So we qualified in a wet setup as well. So we were prepared, luckily.
At the end of the race, were any of you thinking inters?
No.
Mr. M went on to inters, and he had the pace for a while, and then I think he just slipped up and unfortunately crashed out. So the dry line appeared on track, but I don't think it was dry enough for inters.
Because only 2 drivers ran the inter. The first one was Mr. M, and he actually made up a lot of ground. I think he made up 2 or 3 positions before his crash, so it was going in the right direction. And then the second one was, I can't remember. Was it Big Rhino? I think it might. No, I can't remember. It was a driver at the rear of the field. Basically went in, nothing to lose at the end of the second safety car, put on a set of inters, and he landed up making 6 positions. So
yeah, you see the under safety car, the full wets struggle to get temperature, and where we're running at 40 degrees, the inters will run at about 60. So for the first couple of laps after the safety car came in, he'd have much better tire temps than us until we catch up, and then he starts cooling down, and that's where the difference comes in.
We bring now into the comms box. Convoy, can you hear us?
Hi, sir. I can hear you.
There we go. Convoy is in the room. So Convoy took pole position, led into turn 1, built up a gap of approximately 20 seconds. Safety car came out, cancelled it. You did the same thing, built a gap of 6 seconds, and again, safety car came out, cancelled it. So you had to build that gap 3 times. What's the perspective of the leader on safety cars when you have that sort of a lead?
It is quite frustrating, but at the end of the day, I think it promotes a lot closer racing, especially in the midfield. But in the wet conditions, if you have a clear track ahead of you, visibility is better and you're just able to keep pushing on without the dirty air as well.
So now, at the end of this, I actually asked the other two drivers, I asked Spikes and Andre what they thought of the conditions and the combination of the conditions and the track, and they both seemed to love it. So, what did you think of a wet Suzuka? What's your opinion? Do you prefer a dry Suzuka or a wet Suzuka?
Definitely the wet Suzuka. Dry is a bit crazy for me at the moment.
Is that pace throughout, or are you quite the wet weather driver?
Uh, it depends because in the previous races that we did, obviously it was a lot closer in the first stints until I was able to break the DRS. But with the wet, I think I just enjoy it overall. So could be both.
Then also I want to open it up like a cool down room in F1. Do you guys have anything you wanna share with each other that you don't mind the viewers hearing? Don't start swearing at each other. That's the last thing we need. I don't have one of
Well,
those bleep machines.
I just want to say, pleased to meet you, Convoy. We've spoken over Discord for years already, and I've never spoken to you in a voice. So
Face.
Very nice to
pleased
meet
to
you
meet
as
you.
well.
But
Same, yeah. Yeah. But Convoy, yo, I don't know where you get that pace from, but well done,
yeah,
man. Well done.
yeah, you're quick.
Thank you, sir.
You're very quick.
I tried to do a little calculation on the stream if the safety cars hadn't come out. Because I think the gap was 20 seconds, and then it was 6 seconds, and then by the end of the race it was 10 seconds. So give or take, it would have been a gap of 30 odd seconds. So I know, well done to Convoy. That was quite the drive, and to make it even more impressive, it was quite the drive in the wet. It wasn't intermediates.
Yeah,
It was full on.
Yes, definitely.
yeah,
So,
that was great.
Thank
That was really good.
so Andre, driver of the day, Convoy, winner of the race, Spikes. Thank you very much for joining. I'm just going to end the stream. If you guys want to stay here a little bit more to talk, you can do that. But I'm just going to say thank you to the viewers, everyone who watched. I'm going to end the stream, and we'll be back tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. Remember, Thursday is at 7:30, not at 8 o'clock. So until then, cheers.